Welcome to our basic paint training video series. These short videos are designed for the person that's just started working in a paint department, and hopefully, after watching them, you will feel more comfortable helping your customers find what they need for their paint projects, and you'll be on your way to becoming your community's trusted paint expert. This is the first video of 11 in our basic paint training video series. We're going to go over some topics to help you as a new paint department employee. In this first video, we're going to show you where your paint is made and help you understand the quality that is built into every gallon of EasyCare paint we make. We're then going to discuss how you should wait on your customers to help them get the best results they can, and in turn, you can become your store's resident paint expert. In the next video, we're going to learn what is in a gallon of paint. How by changing the amount and quality of each component, you change the quality and price of the paint. The third video and the fourth video, we're going to show you how to use your color computer to help your customers get the color they're looking for. Pick the one that coincides with the brand of color computer your store has. The fifth video is on how to use your Hero Auto Dispenser. Now, if you have a different brand, you can still learn something from this video. If you have a manual dispenser, then you can skip this video. The sixth video covers how to utilize your color center to help customers choose color. The seventh video is where we're going to cover all of our interior paint lines. The eighth video covers all of the exterior products, including stains. The ninth video covers all of our specialty products. The 10th video is going to cover our primers along with why and how to use them. And then last, or the 11th video, will cover applicators and how to choose the right one. All right, let's get started. Before you can sell paint, you should know where it's made and a little bit about the company that makes it. Let's go on a little tour of your paint factory.
Being an owner of a True Value store is rewarding work and always something to be proud of. And being an owner of a state-of-the-art factory that makes EasyCare products for your store and serves your local community, that's also something to be proud of. No other wholesale distributors or co-ops own their own paint factory. This gives True Value Manufacturing a key competitive advantage in today's marketplace. Your premium EasyCare paint, stains, sprays, and their master painter applicators have been made in Cary, Illinois in the same factory since 1976. So we know we do it right. Take a closer look at your True Value Manufacturing paint factory. Whether it's EasyCare latex paints, oil-based paints, aerosols, applicators, or chemical cleaning supplies, True Value Manufacturing is your remarkable comprehensive paint manufacturing partner. For pigment dispersion and formulation, 40 mixing tanks from 750 to 6,000 gallons in capacity produce paints to exact EasyCare specifications. And when the batches are mixed and ready, 3 automatic lines fill gallons, a separate line fills quarts, and another fills 5-gallon pails. But that's not all. True Value has 8 grind tanks with 13,000 gallons of capacity, not to mention 30 letdown tanks and 110,000 gallons of working capacity in latex manufacturing tanks. And where is it all housed? In True Value's 600,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility. And for all your additional paint products, True Value manufactures and packages rollers, brushes, and tray sets, meeting any quality standard from professional grade to do-it-yourself basic. And controlling it all, a sophisticated relay logic system. This system precisely directs the flow of raw materials and finished goods along 1,000 different paths through valves, pipes, meters, and pumps. For quality assurance to meet, if not exceed, industry and customer standards, 7 labs are on site for research, development, maintaining safety protocols, and color and quality control. And True Value Manufacturing delivers just that. Top quality and performance that meets or exceeds those of national brands. With over 300 associates working in 6 buildings and offices, customer service is second to none. We have staff and technology for every step of the process, from ordering to shipping and tracking. Not to mention, True Value Manufacturing is one of the top employers in the McHenry County community. Finally, to deliver it all, products are automatically palletized, wrapped, and loaded for immediate shipping, or stacked and warehoused for ordering as needed. EasyCare quality products for priming, painting, staining, sealing, cleaning, applying, and more. True Value Manufacturing does it all in Cary, Illinois. Proud and excited to be making paint for 100 years because we do it right. That's True Value Manufacturing.
True Value Manufacturing has a few different businesses. The first and most important part is the True Value Paints. This arm of the business is what makes and delivers paints to over 4,700 True Value stores in 42 different countries. The second pillar of our company is our GPM segment, or General Paint and Manufacturing segment of the business. This is where we toll fill paint for other companies. We do businesses with many companies you probably have heard of. This segment of the business helps cover the fixed costs for the factory. 4 years ago, True Value purchased Magic paint brand from a company called Yank and Majestic. The Magic line has a strong presence in the farm and ag segment. They sell to companies like Tractor Supply, Rural King, Menards, and more. They bring industry-known brands to our portfolio. 2 years ago, True Value purchased the Sureline brand of applicators and are working to rebuild that brand into the industry leader it once was. Now, let's cover the most important part of your job and probably the scariest, and that is waiting on that customer. There are 4 simple steps to great customer service. Following these steps will help you become your community's trusted paint expert. They are prepare, greet, act, and thanks. Let's go through each one and explain them in a little bit more detail. The first step is to prepare. Now, to me, prepare is an easy one. First thing you got to do is be on time for work. If you're supposed to start at 8 a.m., be there and in the department ready to go and ready to wait on those customers at 8. Not 8:15, but 8. Doesn't mean that you pull in the parking lot at 8. Doesn't mean you're walking in the back door or front door at 8. You're in the department ready to go at 8. Next thing is don't close early. If you close at 7 p.m., don't lock the doors at 10 till. Don't shut all the dispenser or whatever else off at 10 till. Work until 7 p.m. whenever you close. And if you get that customer that comes in 5 minutes before you close, give them the same service as if they got there at 3 in the afternoon. This is going to go a long way in keeping that customer for life. The next thing is know your products. Now, whether you go online to True Value University and take classes, or maybe have some training done by your paint consultant, or come to one of our 2-day advanced classes, doesn't matter. Learn your products, including how and where to use them. Another great way, and it doesn't take time or money really, is to read the labels on the products in your department. And do that while you're facing the shelves. Just turn them around and read the labels. You'll learn a lot that way. The next one is be clean and neat. Look professional. Don't dress like a bum. If you dress for success, you're gonna have it. Look like the trusted paint expert, and guess what? You're gonna become one. Have a good attitude. Keeping a positive attitude no matter what is going on in your personal life, it can be hard, but people like dealing with friendly, helpful people. I know if I go to a place and the people are rude and unfriendly, I just don't go back. Doesn't matter to me if they're a little bit cheaper or not, I'm just not going to go there. People buy from people, and don't forget that. The next step is the greeting. Nothing you're doing is more important than your customer. Doesn't matter if you're putting inventory away on freight day or you're having a conversation with your boss or another coworker, it all needs to stop when that customer comes into your department. If you're waiting on another customer, at least acknowledge the new customer. Let them know that you see them and you will help them as soon as you can. Give your customer your full, undivided attention and make sure you greet them with a smile. The next step is the greeting. Now, let's look at how do you greet your customers? Do you use the normal greeting of, "Can I help you?" And what answer do you get? Unfortunately, that question can give you a yes or no answer. In that, no, I'm just looking, yes, you can help me. Most people don't like to bug people. And if it's a guy, most guys don't ask for help and they don't ask for directions. So you need to try asking an open ended question, like potentially, "Hey, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it may be. What project brings you in today?" The good thing about this question is it cannot be answered with a yes or no. They have to answer it. "I'm coming in to do whatever." Make sure to ask the right questions for their project so you can help them by not only helping them buy everything they need to complete it the best way possible, and make sure they don't have a problem or a failure down the road or have to come back either to your store or maybe, unfortunately, stop at another store to get everything they need because you didn't remind them they needed something else. The next step is act. Now, when a customer is explaining their project or maybe their problem, be patient. Take time to listen to their needs and their wants. Take the time to make sure they get everything they need and they can complete their project. Remember, if they get home and find out they don't have something or they need something else, they may go elsewhere to get that item. That store could be the one that gives excellent customer service, and you just lost that customer. The last of the 5 steps to great customer service is thanks. Make sure they know you appreciate their business and you appreciate them. You can carry their purchase to the checkout if possible. Also, try to remember their project the next time they come in and ask them kind of how it turned out. People love talking about the projects they've done and telling you about them. Remember these 4 simple steps to great customer service. Following these steps will help you become your community's trusted paint expert. Prepare. Make sure you're on time and look like a trusted paint expert. Greet. Don't greet them with a closed ended question. Use an open ended question to help find out more about their project. Act. Make sure to listen to your customer. Help them get the painting results they desire. And thanks. Make sure your customer knows you appreciate them. Using these 4 simple steps will not only help your store sell more, but it's going to elevate your status in your community as a paint expert. Once your customer picks their color, the next thing you need to do is determine what products they will need to get to complete their project. Now, there are a few questions that you should ask to make sure that the products you recommend are going to help them achieve the results they want. The first question is, what are they painting? Now, you need to know, is it an inside or an outside project? That way, you know, are they going to get an interior or an exterior paint? Then, if it's inside, ask what room they're going to be painting and if they have children. Why is either of these important? Well, if they have kids, they may want to be able to clean the walls at some point. So they will need to recommend at least an eggshell or higher sheen. As far as the room goes, different sheens work better for different rooms. As an example, You wouldn't recommend a flat finish in a bathroom. Now, do you know why? Well, think about a bathroom. There tends to be a lot of moisture in bathrooms, and with moisture, you can get mold and mildew. Both of these tend to grow on a flat finish much faster than a satin or a semi-gloss. So, for this reason, you would recommend either a satin or a semi-gloss for the bathroom. You're also going to need to know what the surface they are painting is made of. This can tell you if you're going to need a primer or not. If it's a highly glossy surface like a tiled wall, then you're going to need to recommend a bonding primer so that the paint will adhere to the surface. Now, the next question is one where they become the biggest liars on earth. What is the condition of the surface? Well, you need to know, is it peeling, dirty, or is there some other issue with the surface? Now, most customers tend to say, no, it's in good shape because they know you're going to tell them to do things they really don't want to do, like clean the surface. Unfortunately, if that surface is dirty, they're just painting the dirt. And when that dirt does come off the wall, the paint's going to come with it. Now, another important question asked is what color will they be painting over? At this point, you know the color that they're going to be painting, the color they picked, and if the current color is a very drastic one to that color, you're going to need to recommend a primer. So, for an example, if the wall they currently have is dark blue, but they're going to want to paint a bright yellow over it, they're going to have to prime that wall. Or that yellow is almost always going to have a green cast no matter how many coats they put over it. And they're going to take many coats of that yellow to even get it covered good. Now, the last question seems kind of dumb, but it's still a very important one. How do they intend on applying the paint? Now, they may have a way in mind, but maybe that way isn't necessarily the best way, and you can recommend a better way. It allows you to sell them the correct applicator and help them get the best painting results they can get. We touched briefly on picking the right sheen, but I think it's time we go a little bit deeper and explore how you can help your customer pick the right sheen for their project. Before we can help our customer pick the right sheen for their project, we need to understand what sheen is. Sheen is the level of reflectivity of the paint film. Basically, how much light is reflected off the surface. A flat finish is more coarse than a shiny one. A flat finish doesn't allow any light to reflect off the surface, which is why it doesn't have any sheen at all. Now, a high gloss surface is very smooth, thus allowing the maximum amount of light to reflect off the surface. The closer the sheen is to flat, the less light reflects off the surface. The closer the sheen is to a gloss, the more light reflectivity there is, and with the increased sheen comes increased washability and stain resistance. So, how can we see why one sheen would have more light reflectance than the other? Look at the picture of the different sheens and how smooth, or shall we say unsmooth, they are. The top graphic represents a gloss enamel paint. Notice it has the smoothest surface. This is going to have the most light reflectance and be able to be cleaned the very best. The middle graphic represents finishes such as semi-gloss, satin, eggshell, and even flat enamel. These paints have less light reflectance than the gloss paint, yet they can still be cleaned. But the more sheen there is, the better it's going to clean. Now, if we look at the bottom one, that's a flat finish. It's much more porous and rough. This is why it has the least amount of light reflectance and cleans the worst. You can tell by looking, the flat paint has the roughest surface. In fact, it's very bumpy and full of crevices. The dirt easily accumulates in these crevices and is hard to clean out. But what does this have to do with cleaning that we were talking about earlier? Well, let's find out. In this video, we have a wall that is painted one half satin and one half flat. As you can see, that satin finish, it cleans off very nicely. The flat finish remains dirty. This is because that dirt on the flat finish is down in the valleys of the paint film and cannot be cleaned out. If you try and clean them out too much, you're going to rub off the peaks of that film and turn that area into a glossy sheen. This is called burnishing. You're basically burning the peaks off by scrubbing them, thus taking away the flat finish. Now, one term that has become a household thing is paint and primer in one. Let's see how it all started and what it really means. In 2009, Behr first introduced the world to paint and primer in one. They spent $65 million on advertising and making paint and primer in one a household name. Soon, everyone had to have paint and primer on their label. So let's take a look at Behr's technical data sheet. You can see it states that you can use the paint as a primer over properly prepared surfaces, but for stain blocking or over oil-based or glossy surfaces, it says use a specific primer. It also says for certain dark colors, use a custom tinted primer. And also says if you're painting metal, use a primer. Now let's look at Benmore's Ben paint. Looking on the label, it states self-priming for most surfaces. You need to ask your retailer about special purpose primers if the surface to be painted is water stained, smoke damaged, grease stained, or very slick. Certain deep custom colors may require a deep base primer. Both of these products are labeled paint and primer in one. But what it really means is that in certain circumstances, they can be used as a primer coat. But in many instances, you will still need to use a primer. So now let's go over a few things you need to make sure to do or maybe not to do when mixing paint. One thing you need to start doing today, if you're not doing it, is to turn your can of paint over before you open the lid to tint it. Now, it's definitely better to do this before you open the lid, well, unless you're super fast. What does this do? This will wet the lid and stop the colorant from sticking to the lid of the can. If you don't do this, when you add the colorant's going to stick on the top of the can when you close the lid. When you put that can in the shaker, the colorant is pushed up onto the lid and sticks to the lid. This is not only unsightly for the customer, but it doesn't allow for all that colorant to disperse evenly into the paint, giving it a true color. You have heard of best practices. Now, I'm going to share a couple of not best practices that you should definitely not do. Never dab a sample of mixed paint onto a color chip. It can cause issues as the chip was made with paint, so now you have two coats of paint on the chip. You also could have what they call color transparency, which would cause you to think that the color mixed was incorrect. The other thing is the chip is a satin finish, and if your sample is a different sheen like a semi-gloss or maybe a flat, it can cause that color to appear slightly different. Now, if you're mixing a color off your color center, you really shouldn't have to do all this anyway. All this does is put doubt in your customer's mind. If you feel like you have to, or maybe they're asking you to, then put the sample on a white index card or put it on the sticker on the lid. Make sure to dry it with cool air and then hold that color chip up next to it to see that you got the correct color. Do not ever use a heat gun or a hot blow dryer to dry paint samples. Either use a fan or a cool setting on your hair dryer. Using heat can cause the colorants to react, and that will cause your color to dry darker than it would naturally. Also remember, when paint is wet, it's going to be lighter than it is when it dries. Paint gets darker as it dries. Now, sheen can also change that. So the higher the sheen, the darker it's going to dry. So the more color variation between wet paint and dry paint with a shinier paint. The biggest way to decrease color matching errors is to be confident in your abilities. If you act like you're not sure if it will come out right, then the customer's not going to have any confidence in you either. This may lead to them seeing problems that, well, maybe doesn't exist. One thing you can say as you're closing the can of paint is, I can't wait to see the color you chose. I think it's going to be a beautiful color. Now, it may not be a beautiful color, but it's their color. And always remember that it's their color, it's their vision. You do this, and in this way, you're not only confirming to them that they made a great choice in color, but that you are confident that it's going to turn out exactly the color they wanted. Once you open the lid after mixing the paint, make sure and tell them it's going to dry a little bit darker. Remember that the shinier the paint they pick, the darker it's going to dry. Thank you for watching this first video in our series of basic training. Watch the next video in our series that explains what is in a can of paint and what the difference is between different price points of paint. Until then, happy selling!